Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Sports Weekly. I'm Dylan Staggy.
I'm Jason Gandhi.
And we've got plenty of things to talk about today, especially college football. It was an interesting weekend last weekend with number 1 and number 2 going down in the rankings.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Alabama losing, that's something you don't see every day. It's a big loss for them, so it really sets up a good playoff coming up in the future weeks.
Yeah, and at the time that we record this, unfortunately, we do not know the committee's rankings, so I guess you'll have to hear our top 4s instead.
Oh, for sure. That means it's time for Triple P's. Playoff Predictor and Picks. It's Triple P's.
All right, Jason, who is your top 4?
Well, my top 4 has got to be, I've been saying it every time we've done this, Clemson at number 1 now. It finally opens the door. Alabama out, so Clemson now has my number 1 spot. At number 2, I'm going the Oklahoma Sooners. Baker Mayfield has played phenomenal all season. Despite maybe his questionable moves off the field, on the field he has been balling, so that's why I like the Sooners at number 2. At number 3, I've got the Wisconsin Badgers, led by Jonathan Taylor in that crazy running game. The Badgers still undefeated. I really like what they're building up there in Wisconsin. And to round it out, the surprise team, at least of the week, the Auburn Tigers, really playing well. Jarrett Stidham and Cameron Petaway getting this team rolling.
All right, I'm going to flip 1 and 2 on you. I like Oklahoma at number 1, Clemson at number 2, and I agree with your 3 and 4, Wisconsin and Auburn. And really, a couple teams at 5 and 6, too, that are going to be interesting. I have Georgia at 5 and Alabama at 6.
I flip you there. I have Bama at 5, Georgia at 6. I just think Bama, they still are the better team than Georgia. I don't think many people are going to debate that. I think that Bama's even the better team than Auburn. It's just a matter of they won the one game. But if it was a series of 7, I think everyone would take Bama. Just they have more talent and all of that. So I like Bama at 5. I still think there's a chance they sneak in at 4 next week. But if I had to guess, the committee is going to be pretty on point with what we did, either Clemson, Oklahoma, or Oklahoma, Clemson, and then Wisconsin, Auburn. So,
all right, now let's get to some picks. We have the conference championships this weekend, and the 4 winners of these games could very well be the 4 teams in the college football playoff.
Yeah, I agree. I think the 4 winners are the 4 in the college football playoff.
All right, so first up, TCU and Oklahoma down at AT&T Stadium where the Cowboys play.
Yeah.
Who do you like in that one?
For me, I'm taking Oklahoma. I haven't been big on TCU, but I also don't want to discount Gary Patterson. He's done a great job with the Horned Frogs, but I'm taking Oklahoma, and it's because of one guy, quarterback Baker Mayfield. 4,000 yards, 4,097 to be exact, 37 passing touchdowns, 5 interceptions to go along with 5 rushing touchdowns. Those are just numbers that you can't replicate. He's my Heisman, and he's the reason that Oklahoma, I think, gets the playoff.
Yeah, I'm also going to take the Sooners in this one. Baker Mayfield, absolutely amazing. Heisman favorite, and Oklahoma put a beat down on TCU the first time. I think they can do it again in the Big 12 championship. Let's move to the SEC championship. Georgia and Auburn projected to be the closest one out of all these. Alabama left out of this SEC championship.
Yeah.
Who do you like?
That's been a while since Alabama's been left out. But I'm going to go with the Georgia Bulldogs. I am a fan of Nick Chubb and Sony Michel. I know that Auburn beat them and beat them good the first time, but it's hard to beat a team twice, and that's why I'm rolling with Georgia. I think Kirby Smart can get this team rolling in the right direction. Nick Chubb and Sony Michel combined for over 2,000 yards rushing and 25 touchdowns. Those are crazy numbers from the running back, but I know Auburn stopped them last time. So I think the X factor in the game is going to be Jacob Fromm. He has 1,900 yards passing, almost 2,000. He's 10 yards away with 19 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. If he can have a good game on Saturday, I like the Bulldogs to beat the Tigers.
All right, I think this one is going to be really close. Auburn, of course, beating Georgia earlier, but that was at Auburn, along with their win against Alabama last week, again at Auburn. This one not going to be at Auburn at the Mercedes-Benz Dome this time, but I'm still going to pick Auburn in this game. Cameron Petway is still out for them, but Kerryon Johnson is really carrying the load on offense. Jarrett Stidham's played amazing, and the Auburn defense looked fantastic, shutting down the Georgia run game last time they played. I think they can do it again and squeak out a victory in the SEC championship, putting themselves in the playoff.
Yeah, see, I don't want to bet against Nick Chubb and Sony Michel, along with Kirby Smart. He's learned from Saban, so I think he's got a little Nick Saban magic And I like the Bulldogs. I think they're going to upset some people. It's basically a home game for them. I mean, it's in Atlanta, so that's why I like the Bulldogs also. If it's an even game, it's in Georgia. Go Bulldogs.
All right, let's move on to the ACC. Miami took a big loss last week against Pittsburgh. Clemson got the win against South Carolina, and now they meet in the ACC championship. The winner most definitely getting into the playoff. The loser most definitely out.
Yeah.
So, who do you like, Miami or Clemson?
I think you guys know who I'm going with. I'm going with Clemson. I call them the best team in football, and I'm still sticking with it. Kelly Bryant is the X factor in this game. He has got to play well. He had a concussion earlier in the year, but he has 2,000, almost 500 yards, 24-26 to be exact, 12 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. But the X factor is his 10 rushing touchdowns. If he can get on the ground and use that mobility to his strengths against this Miami defense that's known for its turnovers, I like Clemson. And you can't discount that defense. 6th in total defense, 4th in scoring defense. I think the Tigers get the job done. Dabo Swinney knows how to win, and I think they're going to be dabbing all night long on Miami.
All right. I'm also going to go with Clemson in this one, but it's a little more about how Miami is not playing well. If you watched that game against Pitt on last Friday, man, Malik Rozier looked terrible.
He got benched with like 6 minutes left in the game. If you bench your starting quarterback in a game you have to win, what's that say about him?
Yeah, against a team that's not making a bowl game, starting a true freshman quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, Miami really struggled that game, so I think Clemson gets the win, especially that Clemson defense is really going to shut down Malik Rozier.
I was talking to Zach Munson. He predicts that Clemson beats Miami by 20-plus points. He doesn't think it's going to be close. I personally don't think it'll be that much of a blowout, but I still don't think it's going down to the wire by any means.
All right, last one, Big Ten Championship. Here in Indy, the undefeated Wisconsin Badgers and Ohio State. Who wins that one, Jason?
I'm taking the Buckeyes, a team that people wanted to count out after Oklahoma. They got back into it, wanted to count them out after the Iowa game, but they're back once again, taking on the undefeated Wisconsin team. I like the running duo of J.K. Dobbins and Mike Weber, over 1,800 yards rushing, 17 touchdowns, and even if J.T. Barrett can't play, I know he's probable, their backup looked pretty good, and so I'm not worried about the Buckeyes. My other reason I'm going to take the Buckeyes is not because of Ohio State, but because of Wisconsin. Alex Hornibrook, I don't trust him. He has 13 interceptions on the year. That's over 1 a game. If they make 1+ turnovers, I think that's enough to seal the deal. Ohio State's got enough firepower. I'm taking the Buckeyes to, I hate to say it, I think they're going to blow out the Badgers in Indiana.
I think it'll be a close game, but I also like Ohio State. That Ohio State team is more complete, more well-rounded than Wisconsin. Like you mentioned, Hornibrook, not a good enough quarterback, I think, to quarterback a playoff team.
Yep.
So I'm going to take the Buckeyes in this one. And really, like we mentioned at the beginning, all of these teams that win this weekend could make the playoff. I'm pretty much guaranteed every single team besides Ohio State and TCU. I think Alabama could maybe sneak in ahead of one of those.
I think TCU could still get in. If they beat Oklahoma,
and they're 12 right now, that'd be a huge jump.
it would be a huge jump. But they also got jumped huge when Ohio State beat them in that first ever college football playoff. I wouldn't count them out. But one thing back on that Ohio State game you mentioned is how Hornibrook, I know Wisconsin's relied on Jonathan Taylor, but Penn State relied on Saquon Barkley, and they shut him down that second half when they played him at Ohio State. So that's another reason I just think Ohio State's going to get it done. They know how to shut down powerful running backs.
All right, that's going to do it for college football today. Let's move on to March Madmen. All right, so a big week in college basketball, a lot of tournaments going on, and Arizona started off as the number 2 team in the nation, lost 3 straight, and now they're out of the top 25. Jason, what happened to them?
Yeah, they're the second team ever to drop from a top 2 team to unranked in the next poll. That's crazy. A complete slide. And it hurts because we were the ones that were boosting them up on the show last week. We were both talking about how good Arizona is and how they can really surprise some people. Well, they surprised us, but not in a good way. I think you got to look at this. Alonzo Trier and DeAndre Ayton played well. DeAndre Ayton averages 24.5. Ayton's averaging 20 points per game. If you have 2 stars over 20 points, it's rare to see you lose by that much to a Purdue team that, don't get me wrong, they're still a very good team, but they don't exactly have anybody like Trier or Ayton to really carry them. Vince Edwards, Isaac Haas are good, but not great. DeAndre Ayton was a stud down low. He averaged a double-double almost every game. But what happened then? To me, it was Emmanuel Akot. He averages 2.7 points per game. He was the 43rd prospect in the ESPN Top 100. He was a big 5-star guy that they got, and he has done nothing for these Wildcats. I expected him to come out and show out against Purdue after losing 2 straight. Still didn't see anything, and so I think you got to worry about what's going down in Arizona. I think it's all going to be okay, and they're going to right the ship, but right now, a lot of negative going on in Arizona.
Yeah, hopefully for them, this will light a big fire under their butts. But really struggling this week. And like you mentioned, the Purdue team, they had to lose 2 straight to get there, too, because that was in the losing bracket of a tournament. And, man, they dropped the game by 25 to the Boilermakers. So just a very rough week for Arizona.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
But let's move into our good teams, our teams of the week. Jason, who is your team of the week?
Is there a surprise here? I mean, there's only one team I could go with, the Michigan State Spartans. They just beat the UNC Tar Heels, and they played a phenomenal tournament. Miles Bridges not able to play until they played UConn. He sat out the DePaul game, and they looked good. I don't think anybody can deny that. Cassius Winston, Josh Langford, Nick Ward, Jaren Jackson, and Miles Bridges, the starting 5, all average double figures for Michigan State. When you're starting 5 average double figures, you're going to be in a good position. But let's talk about that UNC game. A lot of people thought UNC had more talent. They out-rebounded UNC by 16. Michigan State's not as deep as North Carolina, but they've got more star power, I would say. I don't trust Theo Pinson as a star yet. He has too many injury issues. They also held UNC to 5% from the three-point line. Those are numbers you never see. 1 for 18. I was a fan of all of them. Miles Bridges, he played phenomenal when he came back. Cassius Winston, though, is my MVP. And if you watch that game, Bill Walton said it was his best game he's ever seen Miles Bridges play. And it was his first game he's ever seen Miles Bridges play. So there's some Bill Walton knowledge for you. But, yeah, the Spartans played phenomenal this weekend and have risen back up from their loss to Duke. Michigan State on the rise.
Yeah, I think the Spartans left a little bit to be desired on the offensive side against North Carolina. A lot of turnovers in that game. But my team of the week is going to be the Duke Blue Devils. They were down in a couple of games, in the Texas game and the Florida game, but were able to come back in both of those and get the victory, and ended up winning that PK80 side of the bracket, the other side that Michigan State was not on. And really, they just show that they can win any game despite being down, and really can just have their way, especially Marvin Bagley down in the post. He was really just doing whatever he wanted. And the Duke Blue Devils are just so dominant right now.
Yeah, you mentioned how Marvin Bagley could do whatever he wants. If you watch that Duke-Texas game, in the overtime, they literally ran plays to just get the ball to Bagley down low. And it was Kerwin Roach versus him, and it was just no chance. So, yeah, Duke played phenomenal. And I love that week. This week has been fantastic in college basketball. The PK80 set up a perfect Final Four type scenario. Also, the battle for Atlantis, you saw Purdue and Arizona slide. It's been great tournament. It's almost tournament time. I know it's not March, but it has been one fun week to watch all these teams go at it and almost give us like it's March, especially with that Final Four feel with Michigan State, Duke, Florida, and UNC playing.
All right, enough with college basketball. Let's move on to some NBA with Around the Association. All right, so for Around the Association, we'll do 3 things that we noticed this week. Start off with Jason. What are your 3 things?
All right, so 3 teams I got to mention, the Lakers, the Blazers, and the Wizards. Let's start off with the Lakers. They're my team. I have to go with them. They took a tough loss to the Clippers on Monday night, but everyone who plays 14-plus minutes a game averages at least an assist. Now, why am I pointing that out? Who cares? Lonzo Ball, he might not have the greatest games if you look at the box score, but he has made this team contagious. Even Doc Rivers said after that game something along the lines of there's not very many rookies that can come in and change the culture of this team. He has got these Lakers to pass the ball and pass the right decision, push the ball. Lonzo Ball is really changing the Lakers culture, and he is going to be a star. So everyone that's hating on the Lakers, and especially Lonzo Ball, relax. It takes time. He's a rookie. My second thing, the Blazers. Who expected them to be the 4th seed in the West right now? They are playing so well, and part of it's got to be Al-Farouq Aminu. He's averaging 9 points, 8 rebounds, and he's hurt. They're playing so well. Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum getting this thing to click, and what they're building up in Portland is special right now. And my third thing has got to be the Washington Wizards on some sort of slide, but also winning just enough games to stay afloat. John Wall's points per game are down 3 points. His assists are down 1.5, and his rebounds are down. John Wall not playing the same level he did last year. The Wizards have got to figure it out. They can't afford to lose too many games because you don't want to get matched up with the Cavs second round.
Yeah, I think they still got pretty much a lot of time to
just a little bit.
I mean, it's the East, so I think they'll be all right by the end of the season.
Yeah, what are your 3 things that you noticed this week?
All right. First, the Nuggets. Paul Millsap went down with an injury, and he'll be out for 3 months. I think that'll really hurt the Nuggets because they need some veteran leadership. That's a very young team, and Paul Millsap beginning to be a huge part, a big free agent signing, and going down with an injury is not going to help them a lot in a tight playoff race in the West. My second thing, the Pacers. They are legit. They are going to be a playoff team this year. They're so fun to watch. They're exciting. I'm excited for the Pacers. And third thing, the Cavs are back. I think it's 8 straight now. They are just rolling. LeBron is finally playing at the level, and he's getting his teammates to come up there too. And they don't even have Isaiah Thomas yet.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see what they'll do with him when he comes back around the new year.
Yeah, that's scary. Think about that. Isaiah Thomas, Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, and they're already playing well. They got some of these chemistry issues worked out. I think there will be a little bit of growing pains once IT does get back to get him incorporated. But, yeah, the Cavs are playing some good basketball.
All right, and we have one pick for the NBA. This Sunday, the Spurs and the Thunder match up. Who do you like?
I'm picking the Spurs, and I'm hoping this is when we finally get to see Kawhi Leonard. Maybe this is the game, and that's why I like the Spurs. Kawhi Leonard, we're going to have to see. Is LaMarcus Aldridge going to be as aggressive and as, dominant that he has been? He's had a phenomenal first quarter of the season, but that's without Kawhi. They had issues last year, and Kawhi and Aldridge were on the floor together. Will Aldridge be able to still be as productive as he is, but also be able to give the ball up to Kawhi and let him do his thing? I think so. I'm taking the Spurs.
I'm going to go with the Thunder in this game. The Thunder like to show up for big games and just go away the rest of the time. But this will be a big game, matching up against the Spurs, a Sunday game. I like the Thunder.
Yeah, I'm not sure this is big as Thunder Warriors, but it's still a big game on primetime television.
Yeah, speaking of Thunder Warriors, that was a intense matchup.
Yeah, Dylan sides on the side of Russell Westbrook. I don't hate on Kevin Durant for his decision. I know that'll probably boost those comments up right now, but I don't have an issue with Kevin Durant. Dylan does. He's all Russell Westbrook, so I know there are lots of jabs back and forth between the two, and also right here between us two. So definitely a fun game between the Warriors and Thunder.
Yeah, all right, that's going to do it for Around the Association. We'll move on to some Friday afternoon football in the NFL. All right, so let's start off with last week. It was a big week, especially for the Rams in the NFC, picking up a big victory.
Yeah.
Jason, they're your team of the week. What do you like about them?
Well, they beat the New Orleans Saints in a game that they had to win. They came off a bad loss to the Vikings, and they bounced back phenomenally. It was a game against the Saints, who are coming on an 8-game winning streak. The Rams, a young team trying to show what they're made of, and they showed it. They held Hall of Fame Drew Brees. He only had 1 touchdown and 250 yards, so a pretty average day. They held him in check. The running game still was obviously going to be good with Kamara and Ingram, but Cooper Kupp and Sammy Watkins really stepped up in the presence of, or the absence of, Robert Woods. He was gone after his big game 2 weeks ago, and they combined for 198 yards, really helped Goff out. Actually, also Josh Reynolds, who had a touchdown. All 3 receivers really just stepping their game up to the next level to help the Rams stay in contention. That's why they're my team of the week, and I think they are the second best team in the NFC.
All right, my team of the week is going to be the other LA team, the Chargers, picking up a big win on Thanksgiving against the struggling Cowboys. And now the Chargers at 5-6. They are hot right now, and they are going to be dangerous in this AFC playoff race, trying to get a wild card spot.
Yeah, I mean, they got a chance at the division the way the Chiefs are playing.
Yeah.
The Chiefs, Raiders, and Chargers all nobody really wanting to win it. The Chargers are probably the hottest of the three. The Raiders just lost both of their starting receivers, now having to rely on Seth Roberts for all of that. And the Chiefs just looking like they don't care who wins. Maybe Patrick Mahomes gets some action. All of that leads to a fun AFC West race when the beginning of the season, everybody thought that'd be a pretty easy division. Raiders and Chiefs win. The other one's in the wild card, no real issues. But now it could be the Chargers winning it, and that could be crazy to see the Chargers. That might boost their fan base. Both LA teams are our team of the week, yet they can't get people to show up to the games.
Yeah, they're finally getting some fans now that they are playing some good football.
I saw a stat on the Rams. I guess they capped their tickets at 60,000 tickets per game, and there's like 120 or something like that in the stadium. So that's why there's all those empty seats, because the Rams actually cap how many tickets they're selling in the Coliseum.
Well, I don't think they got to that cap.
Oh, I
number
agree. I'm
earlier
just
in the
saying
season.
it looks so empty for that reason. But still, I think the Rams and Chargers are trying to boost this fan base, and what better way than playing some good football?
Yeah, and now let's move on to some picks for this weekend. First, the Vikings and the Falcons, a couple of above 500 teams out in the NFC. Vikings playing some good football. Falcons finally getting to their old selves of last year. Who wins that one, Jason?
I'm taking the Vikings, and this is why. I love me some Case Keenum. He is an MVP candidate, and I know that sounds like blasphemy a few years ago, but I like him. If the Eagles start to fall off, Keenum is right up there in the MVP race. He has 2,500 passing yards, 14 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, but also the receiver who has just been on fire, Adam Thielen, over 1,000 yards receiving with 3 touchdowns. The Vikings offense is rolling. Latavius Murray having a bounce back, and this Vikings team is rolling. I like them over the Atlanta Falcons.
I'm going to go with the Falcons in this one. It is at Atlanta. The Falcons really playing some good football. Julio Jones, over 250 yards last weekend. He is really catching fire, and I like the Falcons. Let's move on to Panthers and the Saints. NFC South matchup. First time these two teams match up this year, and the winner, I believe, will be first place in the NFC South.
Yeah, it's between the Falcons, Panthers, and Saints. All three have big games, even though they're playing each other. I'm taking the Carolina Panthers, and I got to talk about Cam Newton. He's not as accurate as normal, but he's still getting the job done, and that's important for these Panthers. Their defense helping him out, and then the lottery pick, Christian McCaffrey. He has had a great season, not stat-wise, but just helping get this team in the right direction. He is their third leading receiver. He just brings this addition of versatility when they got rid of Kelvin Benjamin, that he can still go catch the ball, but also take some carries out of the backfield. I have him on a fantasy team. I got to give McCaffrey some love. Maybe he'll hear this and boost his play up a little bit just to help me get that win. I love Christian McCaffrey, and he's balling down there in Carolina.
I'm going to take the Saints in this one. It is at the Superdome. The Saints love to play good at home, and they want to get some revenge after a big loss to the Rams last weekend. I like the Saints at home. Drew Brees is going to have a bounce-back game. Of course, Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara still doing their thing in the backfield.
Yeah, that running game's scary.
All right, last game. The Eagles, 10-1, go to Seattle to play the Seahawks, who have some injury issues on the defensive side. Who do you like?
I said it earlier, Wentz is my MVP, and that's why I'm rolling with the Philadelphia Eagles. He's even got the support now of LeBron James, who said it's his favorite player in the NFL right now. He has over 2,500 passing yards, 28 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. That's a crazy margin. I love Carson Wentz right now. He is balling. He's also on my fantasy team, and I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, the Seahawks certainly have some holes in the secondary, losing Cam Chancellor. I believe Earl Thomas, is he?
Yeah, he's sidelined, but he should be back soon. And Richard Sherman.
Yeah, Richard Sherman.
Cliff Averill already out in the front 7. So, yeah, lots of injuries in Seattle right now.
Yeah, so I'm also going to pick the Eagles in this one. Like you mentioned, Carson Wentz is rolling, and even when the Seahawks were healthy earlier this season, we saw another young quarterback, Deshaun Watson, before he got hurt, come into Seattle and
What a
tear
game
up.
that was.
Yeah, he tore up that Seahawks secondary.
Yeah.
So that's going to do it for Friday afternoon football. Let's move on to our last segment.
Soarin Sports
yeah.
at GC.
All right. So, boys basketball. got the win on Tuesday against Heron. And now, depending on when you're watching this, game tonight, Friday, against Roncalli.
Or going on right now if you're watching it during the game. Tune into the broadcast if you're doing it right now. The game's at 7:30, so if you're watching it past 7:30, we could be on the call right now. So make sure you check that out. But yeah, big game against Roncalli. Friday night, Christian Stewart killed us last year, and Roncalli's going to be a good team. I know the energy's going to be loud in the nest on tonight. And then Saturday, Hamilton Heights is going to be a very big game. Also, it's at home. We lost to them last year, kind of a rough start to the season. I think we bounce back and beat the Huskies. And then next week, we've got Friday at Arlington High School, and Saturday we're back home against Muncie Central. 2 big games that could potentially have us start the season off nicely.
Yeah, big games for Guerin Catholic and the boys basketball department. Starting off with 3 home games. 3 big ones for the Golden Eagles to try and get their season started off right. In the girls' basketball, though, they have a couple games coming up. Tuesday versus Marion, and next Saturday at Tri-West.
Yeah, it should be a fun one. Sid Guy still leading that team. Also, Danny Mason and some other seniors really helping out. And then Carly Wilson, who starts, and Nicole Cunningham, the sophomore. All of that leads to a pretty good girls' basketball team, and I'm excited to see them play Marion on Tuesday. So, good game, and Saturday at Tri-West, a long, long drive, but hopefully the girls get rewarded for it and will, hopefully get the win.
All right, so that's going to do it for Sports Weekly, episode number 3. We'll see you guys on the broadcast if you guys are tuning in right now. If you're watching this on YouTube, go watch our broadcast. GuerinCatholic.faithnetwork.com. We'll have every